Panama Canal, one of man's greatest engineering achievements, was a dream as old as Balboa's discovery of the Pacific Ocean. For countless thousands of people, it was a great adventure. For others, it was a graveyard of men and reputations. Its actual construction would take over 40 years, and during that time, the world's attention would be riveted to that narrow barrier of land which separated the Atlantic from the Pacific. Men, nations, and technology would be pitted against the climate, disease, and terrain of Panama. The first, most important step was the building of the Panama Railroad in 1855. The construction of the canal itself, over a half-century later, would be dependent upon the existence of this railroad. Fresh from the triumph of building the Suez Canal in the 1860s, de Lesseps was revered as a hero by the people of France. Under de Lesseps, more than 2,000 buildings would be constructed, and more than 2/5 of the canal would be actually completed. The French had the most modern hospitals known to man, yet it was almost a death sentence to be sent there. For as many as 3 out of 4 patients who entered these hospitals died. Since the mosquito had not yet been identified by science as the major enemy, malaria and yellow fever would kill 20,000 to 30,000 workers of all nationalities. However, in mountainous Panama, the task of building a sea-level canal without locks proved impossible, even to the Americans a quarter of a century later. To add to the tragic health situation, money was running out, and morale was rapidly disintegrating. On June 19, 1902, the U.S. Senate followed Roosevelt's lead by voting the Panama route. Only the Colombians stood in the way. Panama was their province. They wanted part of the $40 million going to the French. A holdup, raged Roosevelt. A gouge by those bandits in Bogota. In spite of such opposition, the treaty was approved, and Roosevelt met publicly with Panama President Amador. Bruno Varela had served Panama to Roosevelt on a silver platter, a fact that the president would privately acknowledge. In doing so, the impassioned Bruno Varela had salvaged the dream of his beloved France. At last, there would be a Panama Canal. Between 1881 and 1904, there had been remarkable mechanical improvements in the machinery for excavation. From French bucket excavators to American steam shovels. Even more important for the Americans, medical science now had the theoretical knowledge to combat malaria and yellow fever. The first U.S. construction crews landed in the summer of 1904. Surely now the dirt would fly. At the same time, the various locks began to take shape, which would effortlessly lift ships to the level of the future lake. It would take 4 years to build the 3 monumental sets of locks at Miraflores, Pedro Miguel, and Gatun. Each lock would be a huge concrete chamber, closed at each end by steel gates. Concrete had never been used for anything so massive.